Previously, I drew the LEGO Bugatti Chiron, which looked pretty cool. So today I'm drawing the LEGO Lamborghini Sian because why not? So let's get straight to it. For those who don't know, I work as a bit of a photocopier. So I took a picture in exactly the way that I wanted it to look in the final piece. Then, using the grid method, I came up with a sketch. Next, I took a black alcohol marker over the entire sketch, just indicating all the darkest sections, which gives me a basic idea of the whole shading situation. I can then hit it with the fine liners, really helping to outline the individual pieces and clarifying the general form, trying to make the most of the different nib thicknesses to give it line weight variation to convey a bit of depth. To do this, use thicker lines at the front of the car and thinner lines towards the back. Now for some colour. This is actually the first green thing I've properly drawn. So I grabbed all my green markers and tested them on a scrap piece of paper. I could then link what I have to what's on the reference and begin splashing down some ink. I approach this quite crudely, making sure to stay within the lines and often staying quite light, as it's always easier to darken a lighter area than it is to lighten a darker one. I know that some people would only use one green for a base layer, but I like to jot in all the tonal variation now, whilst I'm still enjoying the drawing, not 20 hours in whilst I'm slogging away with my pencils. Also be aware that markers are very helpful, but they're not vital. For instance, this was done using just pencils. Speaking of pencils, I now used coloured pencils on this inky base. And if you haven't watched any of my other videos, this basically increases the colour vibrancy and saturation, making your drawings pop. If you're wondering which colours to use, as I said, I haven't actually used any of these greens before. So I grabbed a bunch of them and just winged it. But I like to split them into three categories: the dark, mid, and light tones. So the dark ones, as the name suggests, are the ones you use in the shadows. The mids are basically a means of transitioning between the dark and light tones, and are responsible for a lot of surface coverage, especially on this drawing. And the light tones really help encapsulate the brightest highlights, and work really well at blending all the other tones together. Now, getting better at seeing and picking the correct colours comes with practice and experience. But using this Lambo as an example, it uses two types of greens. Ones with a bluish hue, which can be seen on the door and bonnet, and ones with a yellowy hue, which is the more dominant of the two. Now, the bluey one comes about due to a reflection from the sky, resulting in a very ironic cyan colour. But the yellowy one is down to the genuine lightness of the car colour. Now, these drawings and videos take a lot of time to make, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. But this brings me on to my next point. Pencil drawings do take a lot of time. And something I've never heard in any other drawing video ever is thinking about your posture. We all know that sitting down for long periods of time is not good. Crouching over a drawing for ages is going to put excess pressure on your spine, compress your lungs, lowering the amount of oxygen you can get, significantly reducing your ability to concentrate. But worst and most importantly, muscular atrophy. Yes, I got all of this from a TED Ed video, but it's true. So try to refrain from hunching over and take regular breaks away from the desk, and do something that involves a bit more movement, which I'll leave up to you. So in these closing stages, I'm not going to lie, it will be tempting to rush. For instance, I was just getting super tired of all these little details. But think of the regret you'll have if you fluff up all your hard work because you'd had enough. But anyway, I keep going because I know the next two stages are where my drawing is going to really come to life. The first one is where I use a colourless blender to smush all the colours together, which takes away pretty much all the pencil grain, leaving you with a smooth, ink-like finish. And the final, and also my favourite stage, is adding the highlights with a white paint pen, which I also use as an arty Tipp-Ex to rectify all the mistakes I made. And it holds up okay when I go back over it with my coloured pencils, which really helps to blend not only the mistakes, but the highlights back into the image. So yeah, the LEGO Lamborghini Sian. And if you've made it this far, you may be interested in a signed print, available in the description alongside all the materials used today. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time with more creative content.